broadcasting around the world. This is the Hard Asset Money Show. Your wealth, your money, your future. Serious talk about what's happening and how you can profit. Live in 3, 2, 1.
Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are set to meet with Republican lawmakers on Capitol Hill today. The topic, the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. Now joining us to discuss this is Christian Briggs, CEO of Hard Asset Management, Inc., and host of the Hard Asset Money Show. Christian, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today. Let's jump right in here. Making government more efficient, it's quite a broad idea. What do you think the DOGE needs to focus and address immediately?
I think the number one thing is you've got to get people back in the office. Because think about this for a second. You've got roughly about 6% of the federal workers actually go in full time. So when you're looking at 6% in-house and 94% out-house, that's not going to be a ratio that I think that either Elon or Vivek is going to be willing to take very long. In other words, you've got to put these people back into their seats in there to where they become more efficient. Plus, on top of that, you only have about 12% of government buildings or even have any occupancy. It's almost like a ghost town there. So if you want to get people working and get the value of what they're getting paid for, you're going to have to put them back in their seats inside the buildings with the managers to create that efficiency, but more importantly, the collaboration. That's the key right there to business. And most successful businesses have great and strong collaboration.
Now, I had a guest on the show yesterday who said that having these ideas to cut spending, increase efficiency, whatnot, is one thing, but then actually turning those ideas into something tangible is a whole other ballgame, especially in the current government system. How well do you expect the DOGE to actually be able to deliver on what it's promising?
Okay, that's a great question. How do you motivate anybody these days? It's got to be monetary policy, right? It's got to be some type of incentive. And government workers, they usually have advancements based on some of the performances that are done there. So if they have a strong performance record each quarter because they get evaluated, then there's bonuses or some kind of an elevated mechanism that allows them to move higher within the agency, or maybe they move on to a bigger, better agency. There's always going to be some type of motivation there, but it's either monetary and or position. But either way, think about this. With Elon and Vivek being some of the most successful business people in the world today, they understand to get people motivated, you got to put something there that motivates them. And it's not always just the job, even though sometimes it should be, it's not. So let's be realistic expectations here. They're going to be smart about how they identify where the costs need to be cut, identify the efficiency and where it needs to be brought to the forefront and get people back in the buildings. But number one, you got to create a motivated environment where they feel like they're giving back and they're going to get rewarded for stepping up. And I think these guys are going to do it. In fact, I know they're going to do it. And I think Trump picked a couple winners here.
Now, we're already seeing this Delivering Outstanding Government Efficiency Caucus, which was created in support of this DOGE initiative and Trump's plans to cut these trillions of dollars in spending. And based on what you're saying about collaboration, right, we're already seeing some Democratic lawmakers say that they want to join this caucus as well. So based on this, what do you think their main focus is going to be when Trump comes into office?
Well, they're going to need to cut about $1 trillion in spending on an annual basis just to try to get it back into par. So at least have some understanding of how to slow down the debt increase, right? Our national debt with the deficit spending. And for the Democrats that are coming on board, they better come on board, because let me tell you about the Trump train. The Trump train is on its way. It is hitting into D.C. They've already started cutting the deals. Democrats see the writing on the wall. They're going to have to come to the table and offer a lot of assistance. In other words, they're going to be a part of the solution for the first time. I feel that Trump is going to bring bipartisan support, because if the government doesn't get the debt down, or at least under control with the deficit spending, we're all going to lose. This isn't a party thing. So when you got the efficiency, you got the Democrats coming to help that. What they're saying is we all have a national problem. No party is more guilty than the other for overspending. So let's put that aside. Let's come together. And again, Trump has been saying this now for several weeks. And I think the Democrats are finally realizing this affects all of us, our kids, our grandkids. It's not a bipartisan thing. It's a bipartisan do. Don't think about it. Let's do this. And I'm going to tell you something. Trump's got himself some really good momentum. And I think the wind is at his back.
And Christian, I think it's also important to note that the Doge could accomplish a lot through executive actions, but executive action doesn't last. It could change whenever the next president comes along. But then you can create permanent or lasting change through Congress with legislation.
Yeah, and again, that's a great point. See, when you look at some of the legislation and legislative branches that have done what they've done with the agencies kind of acting as their own little internal Congress, and with the Chevron ruling, now it's going back to Congress to legislate what should have been legislation. However, with executive orders, you sometimes get that little bump or that little bit of momentum to kind of push through something there until the legislation is actually moved through Congress. So when you bring up that point, which is a great point, I think Trump's going to executive order some of the things, but I believe that the bipartisan support that he's already starting to see from the Democratic Party actually could carry forward into legislative laws that could go through Congress pretty quickly. Because at the end of the day, we have to get the government working in the most efficient manner, bring the costs down, stop the deficit spending, put a little bit of a love on that debt. Let's get rid of that slowly but surely, at least start reducing the growth of it. And I think at the end of the day, this will be accomplished because if we don't, when you look at the debt, it's not a ticking time bomb eventually. It's a ticking time bomb sooner than people think. So there's a sense of urgency there. But executive orders are just what you said. They're only orders until they become laws or until the appeal courts or the Supreme Court ultimately determines the validity of those.
Okay, staying on the idea of cutting costs and some strategies that could be employed there. Yesterday, we heard on Fox News that House Speaker Mike Johnson said that he wants to cut funding to Planned Parenthood and PBS. Your take on that?
Well, Planned Parenthood is providing obviously a lot of different services for women. That's something that I don't know a lot about as far as like how you're going to cut that, because a lot of that is already ingrained in legislative body. But it can be done. If that's what the Congress wants to do, then great. You can cut in those services. You can also cut in other areas. See, Mike Johnson looks at where the waste is. And in his opinion, this is where some of the things can be cut. I'm going to say this. There's a lot of waste in the way governments around the world, especially ours, gives out bids for services and products and things like that. And I've said this before on your network, $30,000 hammers or toilet seats are not going to be something that I think Trump or his team is going to go for very much longer. I think they're going to bring that down. But if it's Planned Parenthood or any other organization or anything like Ukraine or this is going to be up to the Congress to bring it to the president's attention and then have him determine whether that is going to be a good place to cut or not. As far as the Republican Party goes, I think that you look at the business people within the Republican Party. There's so many of them. They're such pro-business. I think people are going to be very surprised at how fast they can find government waste, increase efficiency, and Trump can deliver on these promises. May not be in a week, may not be in a month, but make no mistake about it, this guy is going to deliver.
Christian, really quick, last 20 seconds here before we go. We've been talking about the federal government, but Arizona Representative Andy Biggs said that you have to turn a lot of this back to the states. What do you make of this?
Okay, Andy's not wrong about that. Okay, a lot of the states have their own budgetary issues. Overspending, debt, California, look at it. It spends way more than it has. I think, Andy, what he's trying to do is to bring as much of the responsibilities back to the states, and I agree with that 100%. Look at the Constitution. The states are supposed to have that right in which to govern. If Trump can identify the states' responsibilities for waste, fraud, inefficiency, let them have it. They're going to do the best job they can for their localized markets, as we would say in business. Federal government is a behemoth of its own with over 450 agencies. Let me tell you something. Trump's got his work cut off for him just on the federal side. But if Andy Biggs wants to bring it back down to the states, there's nothing wrong with that. Let's bring it to places of which does the most amount of bang for the buck. And he may not be wrong about that.
Well, Musk and Ramaswamy, obviously a lot to talk about on Capitol Hill today. Let's see what comes out of it. Christian Briggs, CEO of Hard Asset Management, Inc., and host of the Hard Asset Money Show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's take a look at how the rare coin market has skyrocketed in the past 2 to 3 years, specifically proof gold, and how their performance has done after Christian Briggs, CEO of Hard Asset Management, put an immediate buy recommendation in late 2019 on United States proof gold. specifically $20 St. Gaudens gold pieces, $20, $10, and $5 Liberty Proof gold, and $10 and $5 Indian Head Proof gold. A 1933 $20 St. Gaudens grade MS-65 was valued at $6.5 million in May 2021. Today, it is valued at $22.5 million. An 1864 $20 Liberty Head DCAM Proof 67 was valued at $1 million in October 2021. Today, it is valued at $2,750,000.